Hi, Adam. Just speaking to Mike just now, he said that the first team defense had a really good outing. Curious to get your thoughts on how the starting unit did, and I guess specifically what stood out about that group to you.
I thought they played well together. We're starting to play off of each other. The communication is starting to be better. I think they're playing more as a defense and not as individual good players. I don't think we had a problem in that, but we've seen growth from that. And so, it was a good, solid day. Listen, the quarterback's in a green jersey, so there's a lot of whistles saying we got them. Nobody really knows, but I think our execution's pretty good. We had a couple times where we weren't totally on the same page, but people were able to play off of each other and make it right. So, overall, I think they're doing what we want them to do, and they're doing it with a lot of energy. So that's important to me.
Next will be Irish O'Fell from Warchant.
I was actually going to ask you about the communication because I've noticed, like last week, Tatum, sometimes is very demonstrative. It seems like when he's communicating, does that kind of encourage other guys to do that as well?
Well, it gives
that kind of rubs off.
Ira, it gives guys confidence. So that's when I knew at one point last year that Kalen Deloche was going to be one of our leaders. When he's very, as you put it, demonstrative in his communication. Urgency. You got to be, to communicate. You need to have a speaker that's clear and concise, has urgency to him, but you need listeners too. That's a two-way street. So I do think Kalen brings that. I think Tatum brings that. Jamie Robinson has brought that. That's where Pack brought us some of that last year. Akeem's getting better with it. Shaheem, Sidney. I think guys in the middle of the defense, linebackers and safeties, it's a pretty critical thing that they're able to get the external guys lined up and get them the right information. So in the spring, we don't like making a lot of checks and doing those things, but we do install things just to force those things to happen. It may not put us in the best situation schematically all the time, but it emphasizes the ability to communicate so that you can give the guys the best tools to succeed for the fall.
Next will be Aslan Hajabandi from Warchant.
Coach, I know you're like 5 months away from playing a football game, and you're not anywhere near game planning anything, but you guys seem to be mixing and matching so much on the defensive side of things. Like, where do you want to be in that sort of journey, I guess, to finding your best 11? Is right now all this mixing and matching just, is it trying to figure that out, or is it just giving guys opportunities in case, certain situations arise during the season?
Well, I think there's competitive opportunities, and that's the word I use for our defensive staff, that we've got to create competitive opportunities. If players have a chance to help us, they got to make sure they understand there's going to be an opportunity there. Because of our depth right now in the spring, just because of so many mid-year signees that we have here, listen, Fabian, Robert Cooper, they need work. But they've put in a lot of work. So it's time for Jarrett Jackson and Josh Farmer and Daniel Lyons and Bishop Thomas. And, it's time for those guys and Malcolm to get those snaps. Same thing in the back end. I mean, Jamie was a little bit hobbled. He's 100% now, but we've got to get Shaheem his reps. We got to get him playing with Akeem, because all those things are real. Have Pack playing with Sidney. I think that's all important stuff. Then like Hunter Washington, getting him the right reps with people. I think that was a goal that we tried to get today was Hunter, Azaria, and Sam. A lot of those reps with some of those safeties that are good communicators. So that was part of the aim today as well.
Next will be Brendan Sinone from 247.
The end of last year, Adam, it seemed like Akeem Dent was starting to come on a little bit with confidence and getting used to the safety position. I guess, what have you seen from him this spring, and then particularly today? It sounded like he had a couple turnovers. I guess, what is he doing well right now?
Yeah. Well, the offense turns the ball over. We take it away just to be more efficient with our language if we're keeping count of any of that. But Akeem did. He had 2 big picks today. And, that's what a safety does. He overlaps things. When I think on both of them, well, I know on the last one, Jordan saw a one-on-one, and, offenses take advantage of one-on-ones that they think they have advantages of. Post safeties overlap things and go and make plays. That was a tremendous play. Good to see. And then, we had another takeaway down there with a forced fumble, and I think Derek McClendon picked it up. So I do think Akeem is feeling comfortable. Akeem is somebody that, needs to be put in the position and once you tell him what to do, he's very good at doing it. And I think he's getting the reps. Those things are filling up for him, and he's stockpiling just those reps at that spot, and I think it's making a difference for him. Because I do think at his best, he's a multi-tooled player. He can tackle, he can cover, he can make plays on the ball, he can blitz. I think he can do a lot of things. It's just about making sure that he's confident in everything we're telling him to do, and that comes with reps, and it comes with clean, concise coaching too, to make sure that it makes sense to him.
We'll go back to Avalon.
You mentioned Bishop Thomas, Daniel Lyons by name. I mean, those are two true freshmen. I mean, they should be getting ready probably for their high school prom. I mean, they've got 30 practices left before a real game. I mean, are those two guys you can see yourself, counting on this season?
It's hard to say. That's a hard position to play as a young player just because of the physicality on every snap. I do think we're deep at that position, but with moving Dennis Briggs out to Fox, it opens up some snaps. We're usually going to play 4 defensive linemen. There'll be 3 guys with the majority of snaps. The 4th guy will play we'll situational play, and then 5, 6 is just building it for depth. So we'll see. I'm very pleased. They are exactly who we thought they were coming off of high school film, and I know Odell's coaching them up, and we're pushing them and creating relationships and all the things that are necessary for a young player. But I am happy where both those two are at in their career right now, their young career, and I think arrows are definitely up on both of them.
All right, next will be Ira.
Coach Norvell has singled out Bernardo a few times this spring. Those corner positions, especially that one, do you think that's going to be something that there's a battle until the opening game? How do you see the competition, I guess?
Not really. I mean, it's going to be a competition throughout, right? But I would rather, we're going to play all the guys who can help us win games, but I would rather, especially at safety and nickel and backer, I'd rather get into a smaller concentration of rotation just because of the communication, how important that is. At corner, listen, we played 150 snaps of 6 DBs last year. That's a lot, so we need a lot of players out there. And, Bernardo was out watching tape with me yesterday, just detailed coaching, and just he wants it. And, I'm happy that he's healthy for the first time in his career here, first stretch of period. And, he's got the tools, and, that corner group is, we play a lot of man coverage, and it's important that our technique is exact. And so just the standard that it takes to play out there, he's somebody that, I think he's part of that group right now that we're battling for and trying to just get him better. And then as we get closer to fall camp, it'll start to become real as far as the reps of the 1s, the 2s, and everything that it is. But there's enough nickel and dime football right now that, if you can cover, if you can compete, if you can communicate, we can count on you. You're going to have a good chance to help us.
All right, next will be Barry from Tomahawk Nation.
Coach, how do you think that the defense has stood up against the run so far, especially considering passing is a little bit wonky with the green jerseys?
I think, listen, anytime you give up a big run with any group of the defense, you're not excited about it because it was probably a mistake. But there's a lot of good tape out there right now. Listen, we've worked really hard to make the run fits to a point that the players understand where they fit in the wall. They understand how to play with technique, how to set edges, and now it's just replicate. But our offense probably does as good a job as anywhere in the country as far as creating angles and gaps and numbers. So we definitely get tested just for where the wideouts align, how we run the football, to the quarterback as an available runner. I mean, our offense stresses you, and I love it because I think it's the way it's got to be. And so I like the progression we're making. We made a lot of strides last year. I think our personnel is continuing to get to the point where we want it, and I do like the way we're playing against the run right now.
Next will be Carter Carls from Tallahassee Democrat.
Hi, Adam. So we talked to Derek McClendon, and he said that he feels like he's the best defensive end coming into this year, and that Jared Verse has really brought a lot of energy and confidence, that the whole defensive line's kind of been reflecting that. What do you think Derek in particular has done to kind of give him so much confidence heading in to this spring? And just what has the defensive line shown you collectively?
Well, Derek's put in work, and there's no substitute. You could sit up there and think that you're going to have a great year, but at the end of the day, if you haven't put in the right amount of work and you haven't checked those boxes, you can say it, but you don't really believe it. He's actually put it in, and he wasn't a very strong. He was a young defensive lineman when we got here, and he never had an off season. The COVID time hit, just never had a full time with Coach Storms in that group. He's always had ability, but he would fall down. He would not finish the move. His mind knew what to do. His heart knew what to do, but physically he just wasn't developed enough yet. And then as technique started to get better with him, he wasn't strong enough to execute the way he needed to. Last year he got to a point where he was being able to defend himself. He was being able to play with strength and leverage. And now he's even bigger and stronger than he was. So, he's always had a knack to make plays because he's played really hard. He's got a natural leverage to him when he rushes the passer. He's got good handwork, and he understands how to rush. And so once he's developed now we got 2 years of off season with him. And so now he's gotten stronger. He's gotten faster. His diet's gotten better. And the body weight is there. And so he's always had the energy, always had the want to, always had the skill. Now he's had to develop. It's hard for young defensive linemen to be good. Usually you don't know until their second, third year. We want to recruit ones that are instant impact players, and that's our aim. But we can't give up on development. He's a pure reason why. He'll be an impactful player for this defense next year. And the defensive line as a whole, again, that's where we start. It's where we'll always put the extra number scholarship-wise. It's where we'll put. We got two coaches at that position for a reason, because I think it needs that attention. And I like our attitude. I like our work ethic. I like our confidence. I like our physicality. But you never have enough up there. You never have enough at corner. You never have enough up front. And you got to keep building. When you feel like you're comfortable at that position, you're probably going to go backwards. So, constant strive for better technique and effort and finish and execution. But as our D-line plays, we'll have it'll be a big indicator on how well we play on defense this year.
We'll go back to Aslan.
Quez Fuller is a guy that, in limited action, he really did seem to make an impact. I think against Notre Dame, he had back-to-back series with TFLs, and then he goes into Clemson and had a big play for you guys. It's not a name that we maybe have heard from you or Coach Norvell so far this spring. Where's Quez at, and maybe what does he need to do to get back in the mix?
Quez's got flash plays. He's got the size, the strength, the speed to be able to help us. He's got to be more consistent. He's got to be more consistent every single day in his approach. And if he does that, he'll have an impact for us. And, we want him to. I mean, he's put enough time into this football program, and he's got the skill. We've just got to keep hammering away at getting the football that isn't good enough out of his game. And because if he's consistent with the execution of the calls, if he's consistent with his technique, if he's consistent with the physicality, then he will have an impact with us.
We're going to go 2 more. We'll go back to Carter.
And we saw Sam on Thursday really have a lot of one-on-one situations with guys like Johnny Wilson and Micah Pittman, and really not just hold his own, but make a couple interceptions. Just wondering if you felt like that was his best practice, and maybe where you feel like his future is position-wise. Yeah,
Sam's a corner. He's a corner for us. Whether that means he'll end up playing other spots in his career here, time will tell. We want to recruit DBs around here, where guys can line up at corner. Sometimes they can go and play nickel. In certain packages they can play in the slot. I think that's who Sam can be. I think he's got tremendous ball skills. Thursday was his best practice from a production standpoint. I mean, if he's in phase, Sam's going to make a play. He's too long, too athletic, and he's really cool around the ball. It's just about, when you're a high school corner, you're used to kind of playing off, finding the ball, and just going to pick it and having quarterbacks make mistakes. here, if you make a mistake as a DB, it's harder to catch up. It's harder. The balls will be there a little bit better. And he's learning that, so he's got a really good skill set to him, and he wants to be really good. And so I'm excited about his future. Again, we've got all of April, May, June, July, and August to get these guys that are here on campus now ready. So we've shown, over the years, with last year with Duke and Kevin, they started. And if they're the best players, it's open competition for greatness. And so, I'm looking forward to the growth and the everyday improvement for Sam. But I'm happy he's here. I think he's got a really bright future. He's just got to continue to dig off the details of the technique right now.
All right, last question will be Ira.
Earlier in his career, Akeem, a lot of times would be in position to make a play and maybe break up the pass, but not finish the interception. It seems like whenever we've been out there, and then obviously today, he's been coming up with the interceptions, not just the PBUs. What's the difference there? Is that just time and on catching a football, or is there something more to it?
Well, I think it goes back to the work he's putting in the consistently, we're telling him to do something. And then he comes in tomorrow and he hears the same thing. And then he hears it again. And so it develops confidence in players. If they have confidence in the coaching, if they have confidence in the work they put in, when they don't make the play, they're quicker to bounce back from it, if that makes sense. And I think that's what's happened with Akeem. And, DB is one of those positions now, if you miss a couple of shots, you can't hit a ball in baseball, you miss a couple of shots, and you're playing DB, sometimes you think, oh, man, what's going to happen? I'm just not meant to be, which could be your mindset. But if it comes back down to you, if you trust what you're being told, and it's staying consistent, and then you're putting the time in, you're working, and you feel like you've earned the right to have success, you can overcome failure a little bit better. And the greatest thing was last scrimmage. Akeem had two really poor plays early in that scrimmage and came back and played really well. And, it was just, that's what it's about. It was Thursday, we started off practice, and I think our offense scored every time they touched the ball in the red zone. And we had an MA, we had a missed tackle, we had a misexecution, you name it. Then we came back and had one of our better sessions for the next hour and a half. That's all part of the development. I don't want it not to happen that way. Don't want it to happen that way. But, our guys are listening to the coaching right now, and they love football, and that's a big deal. And so, that's part of where Akeem's at, and, proud of the progress he's making. Really happy for him, and I think he's set to have a great year.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.